Hey, it's Louis Max. I had a great conversation with Hilary Danner. For those of you who don't know her, you might have seen her acting skills on Saved by the Bell, The College Years, Providence, Charmed, and NYPD Blue, just to name a few. Her family, by the way, is also chock full of big time actors and actresses. She has a great story, and she's kicking it now with a new company called Jenkins Jellies. Hope you enjoy. Peace.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
What up, son? What up? Grind&Pivot, Queens, New York. Today, an accomplished TV and film actress turned queen of the peppered organic jellies. I bring to you the one, the only Hilary Danner. So glad to speak with you. How you making out in this challenging, crazy world?
It's challenging and it's crazy. Actually, I would say there are some solid ups and downs. I think that we all are experiencing. But it's taken some turns that I didn't expect in terms of my business. As it sort of launched me into like going into marketing and like, okay, I have this time. So what am I going to do with it? Right? How can I do? I'm not one to sit around really. Like when the pandemic first started, I was like, okay, my daughter was turning 13. She was a quarantine. She turned 13 during quarantine. And so I was like, all right, I promised her like a new like big girl room. So that was like the first week was like painting and and so I did that project, and then there was like another project, and I was like, wow, this is like really this is going to go on, and I painted the back of the house and the steps and and I was like, I'm not going to waste this time. And then there was definitely like, I have a couple businesses because like, why not? And I also have a glamping. I don't know if you know what a glamping situation is, but I have a glamping kind of like, it's not on Airbnb, but like that kind of a thing.
Tell us about that a little bit.
Okay, so glamping is glamorous camping. It's definitely become.
Glamping. I'm listening. Yeah. I'm saying glamping. Of course I know. Yes. Okay. 100%.
Yeah.
Of course, something my wife might do. My wife might do. Exactly.
Might do. Exactly, because there's like, she would totally do it out here. I'm telling you, it's awesome. It was something that I started 2 years ago, and I've always wanted, when I was a little girl, I wanted to have a bed and breakfast, and I recognize that I'm actually a pretty decent host and hostess, and I just like creating magical spaces and people to have a good time, and especially during this time, So anyway, I started this glamping thing on the side, and it really it's quite it was really growing like a proper business. It was awesome. And I was booked, so I was going into the second year of it, and I was totally booked through the summer, and I was really excited about it, and the business was growing, and then, pandemic hit, and all of them went away within 5 minutes.
Yeah, immediately.
Maybe an hour. Yeah, immediately, because pretty much, everybody was from Europe. And so that was obviously a little bit of a bummer. Oh my God. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You didn't hear something funky?
No.
Okay. Anyway, so I sort of, panicked like we all did, and then I decided to figure out the food. What was I going to do with the food business? There was nothing I could do with the glamping,
right. And
I sort of decided to concentrate on being a better understanding digital, right? And when you wear all the hats. when you wear all the hats in a business, some things don't get taken care of. And I just needed to figure out marketing. And so I sort of launched into these 3 super intensive digital marketing courses. And I just told my kids I was like going to go to school.
Wow.
And that's what I did. And it's been super, super fascinating. And it's like opened up a whole nother world, and it's a lot of work, but it has given me sort of purpose in our days that can be, a little challenging right now. I mean, I also had to balance it. Obviously, I had a kid. I had one kid turn into a teenager during quarantine, and then my son obviously was one of the seniors that, graduated in our living room, and that was like a weird thing. Right. And so balancing like the inner adult kind of, we're all in this together, and you can't be the parent that said, it's going to be okay. This happened to me. This didn't happen to me. I definitely was never in a pandemic.
Yeah,
and
uncharted territory.
Right. And so you can't, as a parent, you can't like just look like you're falling apart all the time, because that's not going to send a good signal. And you got to, so I'm not going to lie, it was emotional, like understanding that. It was interesting because like a lot of us parents were like, oh my gosh, our kids aren't going to have, graduation. And that was sort of sad. But then my kid was like, it's fine, Mom. Like, it is what it is. And I realized, they don't have the experience we had. Like, I'm thinking about high school and how it was the end of this and whatever. So it's been, so we've worked through that. And then obviously, his plans and going through those emotions. So yeah, it's been a lot, but I would say I'm feeling optimistic about stuff. I'm really, but here we are again, like California's about to be, shut down. I feel like we're going to get.
You're getting hit again.
We're getting hit again. And so every day is emotion, is an up and down roller coaster. And it's an exercise to be positive and go on, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. My kids are older, and one's married, and one is 26, so he's running around. They're working, telecommuting, living in the city, but it's a little different game. But I totally understand how very easily you could get, consumed, and it is definitely a challenge, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little more about the business later. So I kind of wanted to, you were first brought to me by one of my quote unquote producers, Mr. Russ McMahon. Now, I apologize.
I call him something else. You can call him Russ McMahon.
I don't call him Russ. I call him every other name but Russ. But I apologize in advance for that. But you do know him, right? You'll admit that?
100%. And who knew him first? It's like the chicken before the egg. Did I know him first?
No, yeah, you definitely knew him first.
So I apologize then to you. Oh my God, I love him. He's awesome.
Absolutely. So what was it like growing up the daughter of a well-known theater entertainment family? And can you tell us who they are and a little bit of the lineage?
Okay, let's see. There's a lot of them. How much time do you have?
I know. Plenty of time. A few minutes for sure.
Okay, a few minutes. Okay, well, so let's see. I would say, my father was growing up was an opera singer, and my mother was a Broadway performer, and so that was kind of cool in itself, I would say. But for sure, sometimes I was in orchestra pits and in Broadway shows, and I was at parties and crazy rehearsals, and then my dad's sister is a fabulous, amazing actress named Blythe Danner. My name is Hillary Blythe Danner, and I've taken great pride in having that name my whole life, and it's pretty awesome, and she's great. And And then my fabulous uncle, Bruce Paltrow, her husband, who I miss dearly.
Yes.
Who was
Rest
amazing.
in peace, Bruce Paltrow. Absolutely.
Yes, please. Amazing TV producer, writer, director. Amazing shows. White Shadow and St. Elsewhere, and just amazing, like, not to use the word, like, groundbreaking shows.
Absolutely.
And then they had some pretty fabulous children. So my cousin, Gwyneth Paltrow, I don't know if you've heard of her. Maybe.
A little bit.
Uh-huh. And her brother Jake, who's also fabulous, and he's director, followed in his dad's footsteps, director as well, film and television, and he's awesome too. And then so Blythe and my dad, their brother, William Menning, was a unbelievable 13th generation violin maker. Incredible. And and they had a child. There's like, oh my gosh, I'm like using too many people. My cousin Kate, Catherine Menning, is Catherine Menning is also quite a well-known actress.
Yes.
She was on a show called Ray Donovan, and she's currently revamping L Word.
Yeah, love Ray Donovan. Shout out to Showtime.
Yeah.
Ray Donovan.
So they're all super busy.
Right.
But yeah. So it's of course, so it's interesting.
What was it like at family gatherings, Thanksgiving, holidays? What was that like? Big celebrations?
Yeah, so what's nice that before, at the time when it was like we were just kids, and we would pretty regularly have our Thanksgivings every year together and our Christmases, and those are super fond memories. For me, I'm an only child, so it was just a really great family feeling,
Mm-hmm.
And it was consistent, and I loved it, and it's, but then, to be honest, everybody sort of took off, right? And not only did they take off, but their careers took off. So there was those sort of family gatherings, like, don't happen as much, or certainly didn't, as we all got older. It would sort of be every once in a while.
Yeah, so the thread got a little thinner. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like we would, everybody was either, when you have it's sort of a little bit of a blessing and a curse, right? Like, it's cool to have this neat family, but it also is sort of, I remember thinking, gee, we don't really get to, holidays come around, and who knows if you're working on a film, or if you're on doing this or that, and everybody's just sort of all over the place. And then raising families and kids and different coasts. It's not like you're all in the same town, It's different. But I remember as a kid just thinking, wow, what a cool group of people, right? It was just the personalities and the humor and a lot of laughing. Just neat people.
Sure. And you're still tight today? You're still close? Are you closer with anybody more in particular now, or at all?
No, we're definitely all still close. But again, it's the same thing. And everybody's still very much have these very these careers, and so they're sort of all over the place,
Absolutely.
So it's more like, oh, we had Easter together a few years ago. That was fun. It's definitely not I would say not much has changed in that way, but what's great is you can text people, right? And you can, and there's email, and there's different things. So,
Right, especially
yeah,
now in the
everybody's so,
pandemic, you have to,
yeah,
everybody,
exactly.
people. It's like I love the social distancing because I've been preparing for this for 30 years. I'm so sad, that people have gotten sick and you can't do it. But I'm loving this because in the
Right.
beginning it was like this is great. I can stop, I can do some projects, I can think about some things. But at the same time, people coming out of the woodwork, they're texting you and they know you got your
Right.
phone right there. You're not, you got your home. It's like, yo, you
Right.
got, you're not texting me back. What could you be doing? I'm like, oh,
Right.
so it kind of backfired. You're right. It was like a
Well,
double-edged sword.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah, no, I agree. Except I keep saying, people keep saying, well, I mean, who doesn't, we all have the time. And I sort of say, I feel actually busier now.
Yeah,
I have to be honest.
for
Now that I've gotten
sure.
more into the swing of, and the panic has gone, it's kind of, I actually feel busier now because of what I was referring to before, where I was like, no, I'm really going to use this time and tackle the things that I have been putting off
Yeah, for
in the
sure, for
business or
sure.
whatever,
Yeah, well, tell me.
in a
Yeah,
lot of different ways. Yeah. So, and
yeah.
so I just don't answer any, I don't feel
I
pressure.
know. And when people say they're bored, I go, bored. I go, this is amazing. Forget about it. There's so many things I have to
Right.
do.
Only boring people are bored.
There
That
you
was
go. There you go.
I
So,
remember being
were
yeah.
you completely immersed like in the theater and show business at a young age? Is that something you wanted to do, or just by kind of just being, involved with your folks? So what was it like, growing up like that early on?
Yeah, I would say that I was along for the ride. It was just what we did,
Hmm.
right? And so from the very first summer that I was alive, as I've been told, we always went to these. My dad was an opera singer, and he would do your sort of summer, whatever the heck they're called, repertoire things or summer shows. And different companies to go to. And so my mom was a very busy Broadway performer. And then when she had me, she sort of started to transition into choreography.
Hmm.
Like I'm
Hmm.
here with my husband who's singing for this summer at Lake George Opera Festival or Chautauqua or wherever we were.
Right.
And, what am I going to do? And so and at the time, opera was sort of about people just walking on stage and singing. And my mom came from this fabulous, dancing production. Dancing, scenario. And so she started incorporating it.
Taking it to
And
the next step. Right. Yes. Yeah.
yeah, so that's what we did every summer. And that was basically my growing up. And that just became my life. And then I sort of, well, it's funny, it was like the summers were amazing. And then I was like, God, I got to get through the year to go back to the summer.
Yeah,
So
10
this is
months for
really,
two. Well, it's like
really
sleepaway camp.
sad.
Yeah, it's like that was
Yeah,
kind of like your
exactly.
sleepaway camp. I'm sure you growing up.
Yeah, but it's funny, like my parents, as I got a little bit older, they were like, I think they felt like, oh, well, other kids go to camp, should we put her in camp? So they tried putting me at a camp during one of these, festival, like in Lake George, I'll never forget it. And they sent me to Ticonderoga
Yeah.
camp. And I sat there for 2 days in a row making like macaroni, glue
Oh, arts and
things.
crafts. Right.
And
Right. Right.
right. And I came back and I was like, do not send me back. Like, no,
Wow.
I want to,
Okay.
Well, because you're like thrown into Magicville, and I will never forget. Like to me, when I smell wood, freshly cut wood, and it brings me right back to the making of these
Sets.
sets.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I those sensory things, and it immediately transforms me back. Whatever the word is, brings me back to such an amazing time,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it because on a side note, my dad was an arranger, a Broadway arranger for
Oh.
and my sister was actually a ballet dancer in New York. She's older than me, but my dad's not around anymore. But my dad on the other side was not on the classical; he was more on the pop end. So I
Uh-huh.
totally understood. You know, he was big time. They were big time musicians, music and art high school. And he would do the Catskills during, the 50s, the 60s. So I totally get where you're coming from for that. But yeah, I mean, the smell of the wood, the sets, I understand that. Yeah, I mean, I was a camp guy. I was a sports camp guy, but I get it.
I'm sure I missed a lot out on it, but at the time I wanted to be around that. I wanted
For
to be
sure,
around
for sure.
the people and the excitement and just like and then they let me, I learned things. I was doing arts and crafts. I was helping in the costume department.
Right.
I was, learning how to work in the ticket booth and yeah, it was cool. It made it hard, I'm not gonna lie. Like it did make it hard. Those formative years going back to school were not great for me because I didn't really I had a hard time like fitting into that aspect of like the cliques and my peers because they had like it was just really I definitely struggled with that until I got to about high school when they needed people to do the juniors, the seniors I was friends with as a junior. They were like, wait, you're in showbiz, we need to put on a senior play. And then my parents
Right,
came in
right.
and yeah, and then so they had like Broadway directors and we got costumes from everywhere. And it was like suddenly I was, oh, that's what you've been doing,
Gotcha. So
Well, whatever.
you grew up in Englewood, right?
Yeah, I was born in New York City and then we moved to Englewood when I was 4
Right.
and they still have their house there.
Oh, okay, okay. So then,
Yeah.
what? So Baumgart's? You ever go? You know Baumgart's?
Yes, shut up. How
Right.
do you know
Well,
Baumgart?
I know. I mean,
How do you,
well, first of all, I mean, I know a lot about Jersey. I mean, I asked you Hiram's or Callahan's. Do you know those places, the hot dog places? But I don't know if you knew those. You remember those places? They're-
I didn't go. I don't think
Fort
I
Lee,
went there.
Fort Lee, Fort Lee.
Fort Lee. Yeah.
Right.
No, Baumgarten's. My dad and I would. That was our little treat. We lived right around the corner from it, so
Okay,
we
I know
would walk
exactly
there.
the news place,
We
Hudson
would.
News, or that Main Street News place on Grand is
Yeah,
right there.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of kids
yeah.
from
Oh, I
camp.
was.
I went to camp, so there are a lot of kids from camp that lived in Englewood in Tenafly.
Oh, that's
So we used to
so
go visit,
funny.
and I'm still around, that area a lot, believe it or not.
That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah, we would walk there, and his favorite flavor was Tutti Frutti. I still remember that. And I was like, Tutti Frutti. And we would, and then we would go, and then I hadn't been back for years, and then it was like Baumgarten / Chinese food, which was
Correct.
interesting.
I was going to say that.
But
Exactly. Not like it
yeah.
used to be. Right.
I was like,
Absolutely.
oh, okay. but anyway, yeah, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. And then
Right.
Hudson News, I get
Hudson
there.
News.
and,
That's
like,
what
go
Hudson
get-
News. I said, yeah, exactly. On the corner
I
there.
would get my bazooka gum. That was
That's
the
right.
first place I was allowed to walk to. Yeah, it was very fun. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. That's
Bringing
crazy.
me back.
Yeah,
Bringing
small
me
world.
back. Yeah.
Small world. So,
Totally.
when did you go to like? Let's just say, I mean, you went every summer. I know to the different places. When did you go to Chautauqua? When it really started. Like when you were. Russ told me around 14. Is that possible? Is that
No,
right?
I actually was, I think I was 10.
Okay.
I was
Right.
10 or 11 because the way I look at it, I mean, again, looking through my childhood memory and things are foggy, but basically, actually, the story was that my dad, we went to Chautauqua when I wasn't even 1 yet. So at the time he did one show there and we were there for like 2 weeks or something. And then we went to Lake George that summer. And then I went subsequently to Lake George Opera Festival for whatever, 9 or 10 years. And then that last time we then went back to Chicago, for me was obviously the first time that I remembered. But it was I was about 10. So, that was
Gotcha.
probably 1980 or 79.
Right. What was that like as an institution? I mean, I know they have a certain kind of mission, but you were really just more in the arts end, right?
It's incredible. Have you never been there?
I have never been.
Oh my God. It was like literally, if I look back on that place right now, I would just fall to my knees and cry. When I think about it, I tear up. It was an incredible experience. At the time I was like, okay, this is where we're going to be. But when I really look at it, like, it was incredible. So it was a whole cultural, or it is a whole cultural space. I feel like it's 700 acres or something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's pretty
but
big,
in a gorgeous,
pretty vast.
Gorgeous lake and huge art facilities. Like, I was obviously there because we were at the Norton Opera House, which was Norton Hall Opera House, which is not just like, these weren't like little shacks. Like, these were like formidable, real huge buildings, like with gorgeous, and because I lived there all year round, just a few, small amount, but it was just filled with culture and art, and there was music always playing, and there were shows, symphonies from where the heck ever, New York, around the world. I mean, all the top people in the business and the upcoming. It was an incredible place. Every day was just, and then I was there with the opera company, and everybody was, and that was just a hoot in itself. And I just look back now and I think, what an unbelievably incredible experience. Of course, my parents, they were just working. And so because Chicago is quote unquote like protected, there are really no cars that are allowed on there. And once you go through the gate, you're just kind of on your own. And my mom would be like, see you back at dinner at 6, and I was 10. And I was like, okay, bye, and my grandmother, her mother, spent many summers with us there. And my grandmother ended up she was legally blind, but she could walk down and go to a lecture series and go to a symphony, and she could do all these things on her own.
Amazing.
Because and I remember people saying it's, America's best kept secret, and it really is. It's mind-blowing.
Self-contained paradise.
But anyway. It really was, and especially for a kid, like, unreal. Yeah,
absolutely.
Really
so you went there at 10. How many did you continue going for several years after that per summer?
I feel like I was there for at least 7. I feel like I was there for 7 years. And then you graduate high school. I think I graduated when I was 17.
Okay, so you kind of you actually came of age there, really, during that time, right?
For sure, yeah, and then those wacky people that I met there really helped us.
Right. Well, that's what that's what I want to get into. I mean, let's get away from the, quote unquote, when when you hear opera, you think classical, you think, the classics, everything, and classical music, of course, the symphonies, of course, all great. I studied it. I studied piano, so I'm familiar. I still am.
But they're wackadoodles.
Yes,
they're all wackadoodles.
Absolutely, completely crazy. I mean, going way back to the piano teacher that you might have in just a small little alcove area. Yeah, out of their minds.
Exactly.
Of course.
Yeah.
But fascinating at the same time. What about the kids? Now, you were hanging out with some older kids. What were the kids into? What was it like? Were you into music? What were you into as, let's say, 13, 14, 15?
I wasn't hanging out with the kids. That was the thing. There really were. I was the kid at the opera company, right?
Right.
Occasionally I'd have a friend come up with me for a month or two or whatever, but basically I was the kid. And what's funny, I look back at it, and everybody there was 20, 25, 30 maybe,
wow.
Right? And I thought they were ancient, these adults, and really. Now, I think at my age now, I'm like, they're the kids, right? God, I was like a baby, right?
For sure.
So, so I was really hanging out with them. I remember there was a kid or two that was maybe in one of the shows with me, like in the kids' chorus of whatever show we were doing. But I really didn't connect with them. I loved being with these crazy, quote unquote, adults because they were fabulous. I mean, and I think back of I don't even understand why I was thinking we were the head of the company or the stage manager or whatever, and Russ might have been involved. I have no idea at this point, but they thought it was a good idea to put bandanas on and hold up, quote unquote, hold up the local grocery store with bananas. Like, literally, I don't know why. I went along, and then my mother got word of it, and she's like, oh my God, like, what is happening, And they would And they would have we would have something called the regatta, and they'd all get boats, and they would dress up as, I don't know why I'm remembering mice or cheese, and they would paddle across and I don't know, just like wacky, like weird, wacky things. And I much would rather, be with them, which again brings me right back to why it was difficult to go back to school for the rest of the 10 months.
Oh, definitely.
I didn't really jive with it. I mean, and so.
What,
yeah,
you were talking about the John Belia Regatta?
Oh my God. Why do you know that?
Well, I got to dig a little dirt up, John Belia Regatta.
Called. Yes, and they would get dressed up, and we'd go. I don't know. I don't think they would let me in the boats, actually. But for some reason, I would drive, and I'd end up at the restaurant across the lake for the big return to see who had won. And then, of course, there was a party, and then we would have, the winner would get some nasty old fruitcake that would just get passed down from year after year after year. These are just the little snippets that I remember, but it was so fun. But now looking back, I wouldn't have put me in a boat either with these.
No, definitely not.
Going across the lake. So.
What about vices? What about drugs? What about drinking? Can you at least, whether or not you go into it heavy or not, just can you talk about it? Can you say what it was like back then?
You're talking about me? You talking about me personally?
No, not you really. I don't think we.
No, because my story is that it's very clean. I was not a.
Right.
I have no fun stories about that.
Okay,
one.
no, not really you.
Not
what
true.
about the others? The others.
That's actually not true. My mother got me drunk by accident. I was on. No, it's actually funny. I was on a tour, a Broadway show tour bus called Irene, back with Debbie Reynolds back in the day. I think I was 4. Mm-hmm. And the story is that they were on a bus tour, right? Broadway and
sure.
I guess they had made what's the thing with wine when it's with the fruit?
Sangria.
Sangria. Yeah. So that was, I guess, the people were enjoying that on the bus tour, and I thought it was fruit. I was 4, so I guess I was eating some fruit, and that did me in. Yeah. So what was going on with the people? I got to be honest with you. I did not witness. Obviously, there was people at cocktails and and drinking and stuff. But you're talking about, singers are also athletes, to be honest.
Absolutely.
And
must take care of their bodies.
So, yeah, even when my dad was singing opera all over the place, we joke about it. If I had a cold as a little girl or something, he would just wrap his, cover his mouth, kind of like we're doing today, every day.
Yeah.
And, barely he would say goodnight through the door, So performers, they had to take care of their bodies. There wasn't a lot of that going on. Probably more so on the technical side of things. I think there are some of my buddies on the, the technical side of opera land. I think there was probably a partying going on, but it wasn't anything that if it was happening, I'm sure it was happening, and I was not. Whether I just wasn't there or they were being respectful, I have no idea. But
Gotcha.
I have to say that my memory is not anything
Okay.
I
Fair
wasn't
enough.
a part of it. I didn't see it.
Were you into what music were you into?
What music was I into?
Yeah, were you into music? Were you into any specific genre or just what was on the radio?
To be honest with you, you're gonna be like, oh my God, sad child. I was a really good girl, and I didn't. It's okay, my parents know the story. I didn't want to upset them, and they were definitely in the classical, mindset, and I started to enjoy pop music, whatever was popular at the time, right?
Okay.
I don't know. But I didn't want to upset them, mm-hmm. So I would listen so quietly to the radio in my ear, And then the joke is but when Billy Joel came around, I was like, I just love Billy Joel, and I'm listening to all of his records, and it was sort of my stand. I was listening to Billy Joel, and they would. So that was really about it. I didn't get I wasn't crazy about bands or anything I liked the songs, right? I wasn't that person who I love this band, or
Right,
I
you didn't
love
latch
this
on to
singer.
it.
And
Right. Okay.
no, like I either liked the song or I didn't like the song. You know.
I gotcha. Okay, of course. But oh my God, no, I'm kidding.
What? What?
No, I totally get it. But that's interesting. I mean, looking back on, I mean, I don't know how much you look back on it, but or speak about it. But that's pretty interesting that you actually are able to tell that story now. You know, of
Yeah.
how it
Well, and
went.
I will. I'll tell you. You know, I mean, I don't want to sound like so. I will say like every once in a while I get asked who I was actually. You know, my cousin Gwyneth was
Yeah,
married to Chris Martin
Yes.
of Coldplay,
of course.
and who obviously is a very lovely person to spend some time with when I did. But I just telling that story brought me back to a very small gathering, a little family gathering we had at one point, and I was sitting next to him. There was probably 8 of us around the table, and he turned to me and you know, and I didn't spend a lot of time with him, but he was like, "So Hillary, what were some of your music?" Maybe I asked him first, like, who did I, come up with a conversation, like, who inspired you or
Your
something?
influences,
And he
right?
told me, yeah, that's what they were talking about. It was just 8 of us, I think, around the table, my parents, and then he turned to me and he was like, "And who inspired you?" And I basically just told the same story I told you. I was like, Billy Joel, and he's like, "I love Billy Joel," but I have a few times in my life sort of felt sheepish about not having a fabulous answer to that, but I think that it's fine. It's my answer, and that's my reality. So
Yeah, I love it. I love that you own up to that.
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's no, that's admirable. It really is. So you finished high school. Next step was NYU, right?
Yeah, I went to NYU.
Okay.
I went to the film school.
How was that? You moved into the city? What was the story?
Yeah, I moved into the city, even though I was just 10 miles away or
Well,
something.
yeah. I mean,
It
my
was
kids are living in the city
it-
now. They're 5 minutes away from Queens. I live in Forest Hills, Queens. Everybody,
Yeah,
all the
but
kids
I
are
was-
living in the city. Everybody's living in the city now.
But the thing is, it was really emotional, even though, and I look back at it like, and I don't know what happened, why my high school yearbook didn't get done in time, and somehow I was like, well, I'll finish it, while everybody else goes off to college. And because I'm still in town, and so like every weekend for the first maybe 2-3 months of college, I would go home, and maybe I was using it as an excuse. I really don't know, but I got the yearbook done, and until I got comfortable in the city. Of course, I did meet some fabulous friends who are still my lifelong friends, and that's the best thing that came out of NYU for me. And also my parents at that time were both teaching at Juilliard in the opera department, and so they were doing projects there. So I think I needed a transition, and I think I hear my dad like fell apart, went to bed for 3 days when I left. Even though I was literally across the bridge, but still, it's hard. It's hard.
Sure.
So,
What year was that? What year did you graduate high school, and what year was NYU?
I graduated in '87, and so and then simultaneously I was working for my uncle Bruce Paltrow. He had a TV studio. He built a TV studio in New York, which is now, gosh, I'm going to get it wrong. Is it Pier 60? Pier 62? Is there like a whole big complex now?
Yeah,
there?
I'm not sure of the number either, but yeah.
Yeah, there's so basically, he sort of was part of saving these pier, the pier was going to disappear. They didn't care about it or something like that, and he built those sound stages there. And then had plans to do other things, and I guess it blossomed into this huge place. I haven't been there since all these years, but I worked for him as a PA, as a grunt, production assistant,
Of course.
where I learned a ton, and while I was going to film school. And I remember the people at the production company were like, get out of school, you learn it here, right? You learn everything. And you did. It was fabulous. Such an experience. I loved it. And then I ended up I was like, I said I was taking some acting classes and some musical theater, and there was an opportunity, and I left, and I went to LA 2 years later. So I did, yeah.
Gotcha. So that's when you went to LA was when you started basically working as an actor.
Yeah, my friend, through working in the production company, I actually, oh my gosh, that's right. There was a show that they were doing, and I was working the audition room, and I was like, making sure these young actors were going in for this show and taking their names. I was working for the company, and I kept going in and out, and the people from the network were there, and it was one of those classic things where I didn't end up, getting hired for that, but the lady was like, "Can she read?"
Are you really?
Did she come in and audition? Yeah. And I was like, and I was terrified.
That's crazy.
I don't know if obviously I think they probably was like, I was definitely a little shaky, but it encouraged me. I was like, okay, so, and so then one of my friends at the time was an agent. He was like, I'm going to LA. I'm setting up an office. You should you should come out.
Right.
And, so I did.
So that's a pivotal moment right there, huh?
100%. And yes, and actually, I was doing a very intensive musical theater class at the time, and I was working through a lot of my own like fears and demons and different things, and it was hard for me to do it. And this last performance night was very pivotal for me because I had never finished one scene from this like 8-week experience, and I was like, this is it. Like, I'm not going out as a loser. You can do it, and you're going to stop keeping yourself from succeeding in this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
It was I'll never forget it. And my dad was in the audience, and dear friends were there. And the first scene I went up, it was like a 10-hour show. Like it was a very intense thing. And my first scene, I was doing like 8 or 10 that night. I was like, this is it. These people have not seen you get through a scene once. And I just did it. And even my scene partner was looking at me. He couldn't believe it, because I'd left him like high and dry every single time.
Right. So you're finally coming through.
And and there I was on that stage, and it was a very big turning point for me inside. And I went running. I took to the hallway and I sobbed. And my dad was there, and he gave me a huge hug. And anyway, it was it was a thing. And I was like, and I made it through the night. And then through that, Micro Lady was auditioning for Broadway, whatever year that was. And I had an opportunity to audition for the chorus, and I was so lame. I went in, I sang Happy Birthday, and I don't know what happened, but I got a call back to go in, and I, at that point, said, no, I'm going to LA, and I didn't go back to that call back. And again, another sort of pivotal moment. I was like, I could go back and sort of follow what I kind of would love to do, but I'm going to go to LA. Like, I really felt like that was a big, that way if I didn't have a decision to make, if I was going to get in the show, was it going to delay my LA? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I mean,
So-
I think you also got you got the confidence after you did that.
Yeah, I got through it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, and I remember my acting teacher, he was like, all right, go fly. He gave me a little set of...
Thanks so much for listening. Big shout outs to the crew behind the scenes, John Hart, Ian Lidovich, Russ McMahon, and of course my wife Jill. Don't forget to smash that like button, comment and subscribe, and follow at Grind and Pivot. You already know we appreciate you. Later, son.